On a March day in 2003, I pointed my little black 1999 Honda Civic down south, down Highway 75 towards Tulsa, to take off and drive towards band practice that was going to be happening there. I had no idea that something was going to happen on the highway that day that was going to change my life forever. I was going to see something that I was not going to be able to unsee. My name is Jared Elmore, and I was more or less born into the church. I was the son of a Baptist music minister in about 1983 when we came to Oklahoma. And I got to see firsthand, not really from my dad, but from the church culture and from the kind of fundamental theology that I was taught at that young age, that God is a God of grace, and God is also a God of wrath. And it kind of just depends on how bad the offense that you've committed is, if I said that right. It's like we talk about God is gracious and loves you unconditionally. It's called agape, okay, in the Bible, which means unconditional love, I think. Don't quote me on that. And the church would kind of dole out this sort of wonderful kind of gracious love, which is grace is kind of sort of loosely defined as a love that you don't deserve or is more than you deserve. The church would dole that out, but then the church would also, if it got pissed off enough, it would dole out God's wrath. And we're taught this as children in Sunday school. Okay, you can do some stuff that's bad enough that you get sent to hell and you burn alive there for eternity. And those pictures got placed in my little second grader mind. I had a curly red like fro, and I was just this little cute, quiet Caucasian, very Caucasian kid, and I didn't say much. I observed a lot, but I picked up on the hell thing, and it shook me. Well, fast forward into my early 20s, and I have followed in my dad's footsteps. And my dad was very much more about the grace of God. And if you know him, you know that that's what he talks about repeatedly and consistently. And he's a very gracious human being, if you've ever met him. But I find myself working in churches like he did. I have become a musician. I have now the spiky hair. I used to have it bleach blonde all the way down to the roots. Kind of had like this Eminem rock and roll vibe going. And I found myself on a church worship team, and I felt like I had found a new home, a new family. My dad's church was meeting on Friday nights, and so I'm free now to do this somewhere else on Sunday morning. And there I am playing guitar and playing piano and being on this church worship team and feeling like I have a second family in addition to the one that I still had in my own family. But there was just a major problem, and that was that the pastor's daughter had taken a liking to me. To put that in Oklahoma terms, she had taken a liking to me. And I had taken a liking to her also. I'll never forget, it was Easter Sunday morning, and the band was warming up, and I was standing in the back holding the guitar, and she was, a few feet in front of me, facing the front. She was a singer, and the song ended, and she turned and she walked, and I caught a side view of her, and just in that moment, it was like, it got switched on, and I was in love with this girl. I went to the pastor, and I asked him if he would give me his daughter's hand in a dating relationship. I was trying to honor him. I wasn't asking him if I could marry his daughter, just can I date her? And I think the reason I knew I needed to ask him that was because I was 26 years old. and she was 18. Dun dun dun. Yeah, she was 18. Nobody needed to explain that to me. Like, there's an age difference, and you are pushing it, bro. It was something I was taking a lot more seriously than everybody else, and it was eating me up. But she was the one. Well, they gave us their blessing for us to date, and then a few days later, I remember them revoking their blessing. And when they revoked their blessing, they came at me pretty hard. It was not about what I knew, which was she's growing up too fast and we're losing control of her. And if she wants to date a 26-year-old at 18, that causes her to think she's 26. And we kind of lose parental authority over her, so to speak. That's what I was pretty sure it was about, but that wasn't what they were saying. They were saying that I was a very bad person. And they started to cite some things that were true, you know, that I didn't always, you know, have a perfectly smiley face. I remember I would slam my guitar case shut a time or two, you know, when I was irritated and that sort of thing. Oh, and one of them had been over to my house and seen beer in my fridge. So they kicked me off of that worship team, and they said it was for alcohol use, and then began trying to separate me from the love of my life. Needless to say, this was two things at the same time. It was heartbreaking because I didn't have her, because I loved her the way that you love your spouse. I love her the way that you love your soulmate. She was my soulmate, and she was gone now. But also, it was so unfair, and it was being done in the name of God. I felt that this was God's wrath being poured out on me. There were some things in my life, you know, some sin. I have to just make fun of, you know, the southern area that I live in. When I said there was some sin in my life, I was smoking marijuana, because I was, and it was illegal back then too. You know, we didn't have dispensaries, and so, whew, I was super bad. They didn't know about that. I didn't want them to find out. They're probably finding out now if they watch this video. And by the way, a lot of years have passed, and I've seen them recently, and it's been nothing but love. And I am not the same person I was 20 years ago, and I'm sure they aren't either. This is just stories about things that happen along the way as we're all learning. But I was smoking marijuana, you know, I smoked cigarettes, you know, all of that stuff, all them bad things that'll get a person sent to hell. And I knew God's wrath was being poured out on me during this time. And I was wrathful back at God. I remember I used to scream at God, scream. And I remember what I would do. I would actually look up at the sky and I would yell, "You don't even love me." And I would scream it. Thinking back, I know my neighbors heard me. I'm so thankful they didn't call the police. God, as if that wasn't enough, while this is all going on, I developed a severe neurological condition in my body, and it was S3 ilioinguinal neuralgia. If you know what neuralgia is, it's basically where a nerve starts to hurt. And as I went to doctor after doctor after doctor, there was no reason for this nerve to hurt, there was no cause, and there was no cure. And I had a desk job that I sat at 8 hours a day. Thank God that I had that job, okay? But while I sat there at my desk for 8 hours, these waves of pain would come into this particular nerve in my body. And if you want to know where it hurt in an embarrassing place. So just, that's gonna bug you unless I tell you, so just go Google it. Where's the ilioinguinal nerve? Ilioinguinal. Maybe I'll put it on the screen in a graphic so you can see it. I don't care. I don't care. It hurt in an embarrassing place in my man area, all right? God told me to just be completely transparent with you today. Why don't I just take a minute and address this. I've been talking to God all morning. Hey, what if this video goes too long? What if I share too much, you know? What if I say things that are embarrassing? And it came over me at about 11 a.m. this morning. It's about 1:30 in the afternoon. I got this impression that God was saying, just be transparent. You just look in the camera and you just tell them the truth. And there's a moment where Morpheus is looking at Neo in the movie The Matrix, and he holds out two hands, and he's got a pill in one hand, I think that's how it goes, and a pill in the other, and he offers him the blue pill or the red pill, and which one do you want? And Neo takes the red pill, and he says, I'm warning you one last time, I offer you the truth. Nothing more, nothing less. In other words, he's saying, what you're about to find out isn't exactly pretty, but it's the truth. Whew. Bring myself back to where I am. In my story, I'm hurting in this nerve while I sit at my cubicle, at my desk, at work. Now, your mind has time to start playing tricks on you. God, why would you let me hurt like this? I'm your child. Don't you love me? This pain, on a scale of 1 to 10, you know, they ask you at the doctor's office, this was an 8 at its peak, and it would be at an 8 for sometimes 2 to 3 straight hours. I'm sitting there fretting about losing the love of my life and how unfair the church has been, and have time to sit still at my cubicle and hurt. And I knew on some level it was God's wrath being poured out of my life. Not just because I smoked cigarettes and marijuana and alcohol and all that, but there was something wrong with me. Some way I was blowing it. Some way I was screwing up. I had anger. I needed to get the anger. I had sin in my life, right? It's my fault. So I was mad at God for punishing me for my sin. As messed up as that sounds, it's true. There was something else going on though. And that was that while I'm at this cubicle job that I require just to pay my bills and keep functioning in between musical endeavors. I had a recording studio, and I had some other bands and I was in and stuff. It didn't make a lot of money. I needed this day job, right? Well, while I'm at that cubicle, I get a call one day, and we have landline phones. I don't know if you remember those, but we had landline phones. And I picked up the phone at my desk, and it was the CEO of the company. That means the owner. That means not even my direct supervisor, like the guy who owns the company. The man on high. You know, you never talk to this guy. He's like, Jared? I'm like, yeah. He's like, can you come to my office, please? It's like, holy shit, this is bad. This is not good. And I walk down the hall and I go into his office and I sit down, and he basically says, there's, some concern. It's been brought to my attention that you've been smoking marijuana. And it's funny now when I tell the story, it was not funny then. That was like, The Price is Right, dun, 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 dun. It was a bad deal. So I would be, at this point, I've lost the love of my life. I have a unimaginable pain in a nerve in my body that tortures me for hours on end. And to top it all off, I'm about to lose my job. This was like the dark night of the soul. I think at this point, the anger at God for God's wrath was over. And now you're just kind of in a place of desperation, and you go back and you beg, please God, please, I don't know, just please, something, I don't know. I remember I wrote an email to that CEO. I'm not going to go into all of the detail today. This story is a lot longer, and I'll flesh it out in a future maybe in another video or something. But I wrote him an email kind of pleading my case, and I got back to work the next day fully expecting to be fired. And I checked my email and there was a reply from the CEO. And just suffice it to say, it was a very gracious reply. I wasn't going to lose my job. Now, right then at that moment, when I realized I wasn't going to lose my job, something happened. It was like somebody opened a window, okay? You know when that happens when you're in a dark room and it's like a window cracks open and suddenly you feel a slight breeze and maybe like the smallest shaft of light comes in. Okay, something moved into my psyche, and what was 100% torment, and God doesn't love me, and I experience God's wrath all the time, and it's probably my fault, and I'm pissed at God for that. That shaft of light kind of started to expand like this, and I started entering this new reality, and it was like maybe God is... something good is happening. I remember saying to a friend, I'm experiencing a moment of nirvana. And they're like, oh, cool. They had no idea what was happening. I'm like, yeah, I'm having a moment of nirvana today. I don't know. I went home. I celebrated by smoking a big old bowl of marijuana. Asked me if I'm ashamed to tell you that. Yeah, before I made this video, I'm like, I'm ashamed. I'm gonna leave this part out. And you know what God told me to say? The truth. I offer you the truth, nothing more, nothing less. After a while, I got in the car, and here we are. My little black 99 Honda Civic, headed south towards band practice in Tulsa that night. If you're thinking, you drove your car high? Yeah, a lot of times, a whole bunch of times. I drove drunk a bunch of times too, and was arrested for that. That came later after I quit the marijuana and replaced it with alcohol. We're human beings. Religion doesn't want us to admit that. But I'm admitting it right now. I got in that car. It was a sunny March evening, 5:30 p.m., and I start down the highway. And the sun is beautiful at 5:30 p.m. in March, right? It's golden. We're heading into the evening hour, right? And the golden hour, I think, is what they call that. And the sun is pouring in my windshield. And you know, you can look down Highway 75 and you can see for miles. I know you've made the drive before. You know what I'm talking about. Clouds hanging overhead, mixture of clouds and blue sky. And I had this slight smile, just turned up, very slight. The guy who had been tortured by God's wrath. At least I thought. And I started to pray something as the car kind of hit 55, 60, 65 and settled into that highway stretch. And I kind of looked up and I remember praying, God, you know, I don't know what the deal is today. I don't know what changed or why you changed it. But you kind of showed me a little bit of grace today. And right then, the Spirit of God spoke to me while the sun poured in my windshield. And it said, baby, I am all grace. How much do you want? with me. Where was the God of wrath then? It was nothing but a misunderstanding that I had had about who God was. And what gave me that misunderstanding? Religion. It's been a long, well-known, well-understood thing that Christians often say. It's not a religion, it's a relationship. And they're right when they say that. I know a lot of really great Christians. I really do. Excellent people, nothing evil about them. If you dig down in the history of Christianity and you look, just do a little bit of digging, you'll start to understand Christianity is really a smaller thing. And I'm going to gloss past this faster than I thought even. It is a small question. It is whether or not you believe Jesus is the Messiah. There was a group of people called the Israelites, okay? Then they got broken up, and then the surviving tribe was the tribe of Judah. That forms the basis of Judaism. And in Judaism, in the Old Testament and the Bible, there were prophecies that were saying there is a king coming who's going to straighten everything out. Because we did not have separation of church and state, at that time, a king was essentially like a political leader and a spiritual leader in one. It would be somewhat like us having a prophecy that a great president was going to come and straighten out our country. In those prophecies were that he was going to come save us from sin. Okay, Jesus died, was crucified. His name was Jesus of Nazareth. They were not calling him Jesus Christ at that point, just Jesus of Nazareth. And then the question arose, did this guy fulfill the messianic prophecies? Is he the Jewish Messiah? That divided the Israelites, the Jews, the tribe of Judah. Forgive me for not knowing exactly what to call it. It doesn't matter all that much to this story. How many of you all believe he's the Messiah? Raise your hand. Very small group believe he's the Jewish Messiah. How many of you all think he's not? That was actually a much larger group. And then that's it. So if you believe he's the Messiah, you believe he is the Christ, which means the anointed one, or the Messiah. That's what being a Christian is, being a Christian. It means I believe Jesus is the Jewish Messiah. Honestly, I'm not even gonna enter an opinion on that right now, other than to say that that question, is Jesus the Messiah or not, is down here. And there's another question that's way, way, way up here. And that is this. Do you want to understand a God that is all grace and no wrath? This statement right here is at the top. God is love. And love is God. And right now, I'm telling you, and you know, I'm going on camera, I'm going on record and saying, I'm not really a Christian, because the God that I met that day, the God that came through when I was on that drive down Highway 75 and said to me what he said to me, that God bypassed all religion. That God spoke directly to my mind. That God spoke directly to my heart. That God spoke directly to my being. And there was no religion necessary. And I understand now, if you want to move forward, if you want to understand the fullness of God's love, if you want to understand a love that will shake the earth, that will rattle your bones, that will blow your mind, that will take you on the ride of a lifetime, that will give you a thrill beyond all comprehension, if you want to understand a God that is mind-blowing love, and every time you feel his love, and every time you trade love back and forth with him, you get your mind blown all over again. If you want to understand a God that big, you're going to have to let go of religion, and that includes your Christianity. It's holding you back. It was always designed to, so let it go, baby. Whether you understand this or not, all the institutions of this world right now, they are falling. Look around you. Everything's been changing for a long time. Denominational church has been slowly declining and coming down. Things are weirder than they've ever been with the government. I'm not even going to get into politics right now. Our economic system is weirder and more in peril than it's ever been. You have the government and the news talking about aliens, and you want to know if all of this stuff is interconnected. You want to know if like this is the sign of the times. You want to know, are things changing? Yes, they are changing, and religion is falling. And right now, today, in this moment, whoo, the God that I know, 20 years later, is looking you in the eye. And he's saying, baby, I am all grace. How much do you want? And today, I'm going to leave you with that. How much of God's love do you want? Because the only thing, the only question, the only statement, the only 3 words that I live by anymore is God is love. And I can flip it around the other way. Love is God. Nothing else is. How much of that do you want? There are several groups of you, but let's break it down to 3. The people who knew they hated me as soon as they saw the title of this video and never watched it. The people who knew they disagreed, but they continued to watch this video just to gather trash to talk on me behind my back and publicly and on Facebook and on YouTube and wherever I put this video. The people who are Christians, love God and were intrigued by what I've been saying, because you've been sensing this for a long time, haven't you? You've been sensing the church going this direction. You've been sensing Christianity going this direction. You've been sensing internet spirituality going this direction. You've known it's headed there. And there are a lot of you who already feel this way, but you're afraid to say it. Well, I just said it first. And if this resonates with you, leave a comment. I don't know where this is, Facebook, YouTube, wherever we are, leave a comment, reshare the video if it matters to you. And if you're scared of the backlash for agreeing with me, just slide into my DMs, but let me know, because I need this encouragement. I need to know who's feeling this way with me. The people who feel like I do, the people who have watched all the way to the end of the video, the people who right now are feeling like, oh my gosh, yes, this is everything I've ever wanted. Okay, this video was for you. May it bless you. Whew. And may you come to know a love of God that blows your mind every time.